All right, so I had this idea while I was driving to my Florida house. I was listening to the Peak Prosperity podcast, and they were talking about solar backup generators and powering during an outage, with the storms that we've had and earthquake in Mexico, and the talking about air conditioning, and that made me think, this idea, which I think is actually a good idea. So, um, basically, it's the exact opposite of a solar hot water heater, where in a hot water heater you pump water through tubes. You do a heat exchanger inside, usually a greenhouse kind of contraption, to maximize solar gain, and then that goes into your water tank, and then that's hot water for you. So would be like a solar cool roof or something like that, um, or a water roof or something to that effect. So the idea is pretty simple. You take water, you have a barrel of water or a IBC, intermediate bulk container, or whatever it is, down on the ground, and you pump water up to the roof, and then attach basically a spray bar on the peak of the roof where it'll shoot out a sheet essentially of water. It'll cover your whole roof, and then water goes down the roof, picks up heat from the roof itself, and it absorbs heat energy from the sun, and then water has a higher specific heat than most materials, so it takes a lot of heat energy in order to actually raise 1 degree of temperature. So it absorbs that heat, goes down into the gutter. Uh, Gutter goes to a downspout. Downspout goes into a pipe. Pipe goes underground into some sort of heat exchange with the earth. I think the median uh, average temperature is something like 55 degrees once you get like a couple feet down, and then the pipe goes back into the container that you have on the ground. So it's a fairly closed system. You'll have evaporation and transpiration and things like that. Not transpiration, but you'll have evaporation. There will be some loss, so you need to top it up from time to time. But the actual water use, aside from getting the system filled up, will not be that great. And then that what it should do is that should mitigate a lot of the heat coming into the house through the roof. So like in my house, we don't have an attic; it's just a vaulted ceiling. So we spend a lot on air conditioning, and I think a system like this would be a pretty cheap way to retrofit onto common roofs, um, and reduce your energy usage, which is better for the grid systems, better for your utility bills, all that kind of stuff. And I was actually thinking that also, if you live in an area where it snows, then as long as your heat exchanger underground is below the frost line, then you could actually keep um, the snow and ice from sticking to your roof in the first place. Just run it, you know, um, all the time as it's snowing, and then the roof will stay warm enough to not have any snow load problems. So there's that. Also, in most places that I know of, anyway, water is definitely cheaper than electricity, especially the inefficiencies in an air conditioning system. And, an air conditioning system works in a fairly similar way. It uses a phase change, um, with the coolant, 410A or whatever, R22, whatever you're using. So it's pretty much the same idea, just with much cheaper materials, um, and it'll prevent the heat from getting into the house in the first place, rather than removing the heat once it's in the house. So I think there are some advantages there, and just the fact that when you're talking about $100, $200 worth of materials, and you'd have to do some optimization as far as how much water should the sheet of water be. I mean, should it be a centimeter thick? Should it be half a centimeter? Should it be 1.2? Should it be 7? I don't know. And then you need to have good gutters, because you want to recapture that water rather than topping up continuously. You will have those evaporation losses, and whenever the gutters don't catch, obviously you'll lose. And but yeah, I mean it's something that can retrofit into just about any residential situation. So that's why I think it would work. So if you have any holes to poke in my theory here, let me know in the comments, and we'll see how it goes.